Hello and welcome into the RotoWire Esports Show. As always, I'm Andrew Laird, joined by Ethan Sexton. Today to talk about Sunday's four-game LPL LCK slate. Ethan, I think it may have had something to do with the very obvious Thunder Talk victory over Victory 5. But we had a comment on our video from yesterday that said it was the worst advice I've had in a while, meaning the person who was watching the video, which means we can only go up, right?
Yeah, I did see that, and I apologize to the guy that obviously got some bad advice, but I would prefer if people would say that our advice was bad before the slate happens and not in hindsight, because it's easy to say we suck after the fact, but you got to have some stones to actually come tell us that we suck before the results actually happen, right? I'm not saying I'm going to disagree with anybody either, but at least do it before the results happen.
Given the popularity of Thunder Talk, it didn't seem like we were the only ones who thought they might lose. So I'm not going to necessarily give us a hard time on that. I will say I was right about FPX though.
Yeah, you nailed that one for sure. I thought might end up being a little bit of a closer series, but you were right on it with FPX destroying IG this morning, which was a fun one to watch. So yeah, that was a great call by you, obviously, and I had my hesitations, but I unfortunately for me, I mostly played Victory 5, and obviously that didn't work out well for anybody. So yeah,
I had some. I was showing you earlier that I had two Gen G lineups that cashed with a big fat 0. I guess flawless is a thing.
Yeah, I guess so. He started that last series against Damwon that we talked about yesterday, but I thought maybe because they lost, he might go back to the bench. But they kept him in, and he was pretty good today. So I would, I guess we got to assume that he's the starter going forward. But as we know, the LCK, the lineup situations aren't always the clearest, unfortunately. So.
I'd love to say I'm going to learn my lesson. Somebody commented on the Discord. They were like, just never play a late LCK game. And I'm like, no, I get it, but I'm definitely going to do it again. I just know I will.
I know. Yeah, well, it's hard sometimes because, it's, if the best team is there or whatever, the matchup might be, it makes it tough, but it is just kind of an annoyance. I wish they had to implement, we love the LPL because they announce starters, well ahead of time, which is nice. Yeah. I wish they did that for every league, but nothing really mandates that. So
yeah, we you kind of commented on it, although it doesn't feel like it applies quite as much for this Sunday slate. But how the later game for LCK, later series for LCK is usually like a primetime event. So like you're going to get Damwon, you're going to get Gen G, although we have T1 in the first one for Sunday. So anyway. We've got T1 favored against Africa in the LCK. They're the second biggest favorite on the slate. And then the tightest game is this KT Red Force. KT technically favored right now, but I think they're both under even money. So that's kind of a toss-up. And then on the LPL side, we've got Rare Atom, the biggest favorite against Rogue Warriors. And then kind of the marquee matchup for tomorrow, Top Esports against JDG, top favorite in that one. I don't want to say it feels like a Rogue Warriors slate, but man, I'm going to be tempted.
I can't recommend that. I think we've crossed this bridge too many times.
We have.
I think now we kind of need to rely on the bigger sample size and just realize that they're not very good. With the caveat of, I mean, we're seeing huge upsets all the time, it feels like, right? So I guess I can't really fault you if you want to go there, right? But I can't recommend it. They're playing, so they brought in Chocho, who had been playing support a lot, but he is a former AD carry. He's going to start at AD carry for them tomorrow, which is interesting because you can play him as a support on DraftKings. So he's starting at AD carry, but he's actually listed as a support because that's what he's most recently played as on DraftKings. So it makes for an interesting punt opportunity, I would say, You could play Chocho as a $5,000 support, and he's probably going to outproduce that salary unless they just really get stomped in 2 games, one-sided, like single-digit kills in both games.
Yeah.
He probably outproduces 5,000 salary, but it's hard to say. But I wonder if that's going to end up being a popular place that people go to kind of punt tomorrow and then look to jam in 2 of the bigger favorites.
It does feel like a pretty reasonable one-off.
Yep.
I wish you hadn't even mentioned it.
I can't. Yeah, I should have kept it to myself. But no, I don't know. I can't really get behind Rogue Warriors winning though because they've just looked awful. And it's not to say that Rare Adam are like the best team in the world or anything, but I think they're a step up from where Rogue Warriors are. So it's hard to imagine that Rogue Warriors get the win. But like I said, we've seen a lot of crazy stuff happen this season already. So it's not to say that Rogue Warriors can't win, but it's hard to imagine, I guess, is what I would say.
That's why they're the biggest underdog.
Yep, for sure. But, Thunder Talk today, we had Fred at Bree on that one time. I mean, we're seeing upsets, so it can definitely happen.
I think what was crazy about the Thunder Talk is that they absolutely blasted them. Like, this wasn't like a Fred at Breon, like, although Fred at Breon did sweep, it still wasn't like that bloody, and they just took it to V5.
Yeah, I mean, what we forgot about was the Sam D revenge game factor. But I think he scored worse than anybody on the team, though. So he just let his teammates do the heavy lifting in the revenge game. But we didn't even talk about that yesterday. So that was where I think that's where the worst advice came in. We left out the revenge game narrative there.
Fair point. So this top JD Gaming matchup, like, I feel like a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, we would have been thinking this was going to be really close. And JDG had been pretty disappointing. They lost that one. Obviously, it's a tough one against EDG, but it felt like they weren't really in that one. Do you think they're the most popular underdog? I almost want to throw out whoever the underdog is in KT Red Force because they're so close. But like,
right?
JD Gaming's should be good. Should be good.
Yeah. I think if we count that KT series, I think KT are probably the most popular underdog tomorrow because personally, I was surprised that they were priced as the underdog. Obviously, the pricing is very close in that series. So to your point, it's not really that big of an underdog situation, right? But I think KT, since they're technically an underdog, at least in terms of pricing, I think they're going to be maybe the most popular because I'm expecting them to win that series, honestly.
Okay.
But getting back to your question, I think JDG might be a little bit popular because they're the best underdog, like the best overall team that is an underdog tomorrow. We're really not high on Rogue Warriors like we mentioned, and then Afrika, even though T1 have been pretty shaky, Afrika really aren't the greatest team either. So that kind of leaves people with KT and JDG as their underdog options. And we know JDG has been a good team, coming off last year. They've been a little shaky this year, but to that end, I mean, so have Top Esports, right? They're the same record-wise. They're both 2-2. They both have been kind of shadows of what they were last year. So JDG might be a popular option just because they are priced fairly low. I think they're the third cheapest option in the majority of the positions. So that allows you to play them and get some of the bigger favorites in your lineup. The one concern I have for that series is I wonder if that ends up being one of the slower series on the slate. My only rationale for that is both teams are in the bottom half of the league in kills, but they also don't give away a lot of deaths. And part of that, I think, is they haven't played as many games as a lot of the other teams. They've only played 4 series, and Top Esports has played 9 games. JDG has played 8 games. So I think that factors into it a little bit. Maybe I should have probably looked at the kills and deaths per game, as that kind of averages everything out. But I wonder if that one doesn't. It's hard to say, but I wonder if that one is a little bit slower than what we're used to for some of these big name LPL matchups. Like yesterday, we had the RNG WE. That ended up being pretty lopsided for RNG, and they scored fairly well. And then today, obviously, the other marquee game on this weekend, FPX IG. Obviously, FPX blew the doors off and scored really well as well. So I might have thought similarly about those series as well. So, certainly whoever wins that top esports JDG series could have the highest kills on the slate. But I'm wondering, just because neither team has really looked at their best and they're not really pushing the pace like we're used to them seeing, I wonder if that one ends up being a little more cautious overall. Two fairly evenly matched teams, and neither one really snowballing over the other.
So TES averaged the most kills per game, but they also average the fewest deaths per game.
Okay.
Whereas JDG are the second most kills and the third most deaths. So, like, if JD Gaming wins, then you might get a lot of points on both sides. But if top kind of sweeps them, then it's probably a blowout. Based off of this incredibly small sample that we have.
Right.
So I actually I've been working on some like fairly basic projections. That's really based on what we have, like what we've seen this season. It doesn't go further back, so things can swing pretty wildly. Based on every team winning, all the favorites, or at least the teams that we've been talking about, I'm going to consider KT a favorite since I think we both agree that they're going to win. I have them getting the most kills between them, Top, Rare Atom, and T1. Does that seem crazy?
Okay. No, I don't think it's like the craziest thing. I wonder if they get the most kills but don't put up the most points, because we might see a couple sweeps and that series might be destined for a 2-1.
Yeah.
So I wonder, but I think that could be a competitive series where it's a little more back and forth, and maybe that leads to some higher kill games on both sides. Just because that series doesn't really look like one, like T1 Afrika and Rare Atom over Rogue Warriors look like straight up 2-0 stomps, but NS and KT look like a fairly evenly matched series reflected in the pricing, and then even though the pricing is a little bit wider in Top and JDG, I think we would both agree that should be a pretty competitive series. So yeah, I don't think it's crazy that KT ends up with the most kills on the slate, but I wonder if they don't. I wonder if they go 2-1 and we get a couple of sweeps on this slate. Even though they end up with maybe the most kills, they don't get that games not played bonus, right. So it doesn't. They don't end up scoring the most points on DK.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Do you think Teddy starts again?
Well, I'm going to say yes. I think he will, because they won with him in there. But
so did everybody who played him.
They haven't subscribed to that method of thinking for anything. They've mixed it up pretty much as they please. But the good thing, at least about T1 tomorrow, is they're the first series, so people can wake up and get on Twitter and look for the starting lineups. They should be out and available. I'm going to guess that Teddy starts, but it's really a crapshoot with T1 so far this year, honestly, because they'll come off a win with Closer and start Faker the next series, or vice versa, and it's just been a crapshoot. So if people are playing T1, I would definitely recommend setting an alarm and getting up, even just like 10-15 minutes before the slate, and getting on Twitter and looking around for their confirmed lineup.
Yeah, the worst part is that it's like the positions that you want to play. Like, it's not like they're mixing in their top laner, the support. Like, these are the guys we actually want. And so, super frustrating. Right. Do you think you're more likely to build around Top or Rare Atom?
I like Rare Atom I think they're safer, and I also think they have a better chance of 2-0. But it's hard to say that they have more upside in a sweep than Top Esports would. So if Top Esports, I think it's sort of the risk reward factor. Like, Top is a bigger risk because they're playing a much better opponent. But if they get a 2-0, would it surprise anyone if they're the highest scoring team on the slate? It certainly wouldn't surprise me, but I think I'm more likely to look at Rare Atom because I think that's the more likely 2-0 spot. And with the way Rogue Warriors have been giving up points, I think Rare Atom are in a pretty good spot. But obviously Rare Atom just aren't as good a team as Top Esports either. So, I could definitely see Top Esports in a sweep being the highest scoring team on the slate. It feels like that one's more of a 2-1 as well. So that's the only reason I'm kind of leaning Rare Adam there, but can't really fault anybody for going either direction on that Top Esports JDG series, because if we get a sweep one way or the other, we've seen the last 2 days with RNG and FPX that even in these marquee top-of-the-table clashes, if a team gets a sweep, they're going to put up a pretty huge point totals on the day. So can't really fault anybody, but I think I'm kind of looking at Rare Adam a little as a safer option, I guess is how I would put it.
What's funny is that it's like the consideration was, do I think that Top Esports are better than how bad Rogue Warriors are? Like, it's not like, because obviously Top Esports are better than Rare Adam. Like, that's not a consideration. But obviously JDG are much better than Rogue Warriors. They're just like, is the difference between Top and JDG bigger than the difference between Rare Adam and Rogue Warriors? And you took like 1 second earlier to just shut down my Rogue Warriors talk. So I guess that's where you stand on it.
I'm sorry, man. I just can't get behind it. But the thing that kind of sways me towards Rare Adam as well is I think even if Top Esports get a 2-0, I think JDG are good enough that they're not going to cough up like 20-plus kills a game. Whereas Rogue Warriors have 261 deaths in 13 games played. So I think if my math is correct, that's 20 deaths a game, isn't it? So that's kind of why I'm looking more at Rare Adam. I just think Rogue Warriors are by far the worst team on this slate probably. And, even in a 2-0, I think JDG aren't like crappy enough to give away 2 20-plus kill games to Top Esports. Certainly could happen, but it's just, to me, it's way more likely that Rogue Warriors is the one that absolutely gets buried tomorrow.
Rogue Warriors, 20 deaths per game, and the next highest is Rare Adam at 16.9. Like, it's a four death difference, which is basically the same between Rare Adam and like Afrika, who are the second lowest. So it's like you get basically the entire slate, and then the difference between Rare Adam and Rogue Warriors at the bottom. All right, I guess I'll need another slate to play Rogue Warriors.
Hey, man, go for it. Multiple lineups. You do you, man. They're your blind spot, like XL and the LEC are my blind spot. But we don't talk about the LEC, so it's all right.
That's the worst thing about DFS. It takes like one time for a dumb thing to make you money, and you're like, oh, okay, these guys are good.
That's why I like Rare Adam, because they're the only time I won a decent-sized GPP. It was with Avicii Gaming, who is now Rare Adam stack, and iBoy was my captain, so soft spot in my heart. But I'm trying to go head over heart here, and just the head sees Rogue Warriors giving up 20 deaths a game, and the head likes that number. So that's just how I feel about that one. I don't know.
I get it. I just DFS all about learning lessons. That's all. If you guys have enjoyed the video, if you could please hit the like button below. Feel free to subscribe to get all the RotoWire videos that we have for all the sports that we cover. In addition to League of Legends, we've got NBA, NHL, a little bit of football left, some NBA, so feel free to check those out. We also keep plugging the RotoWire subscriber Discord, which is open for all subscribers. Just go to rotowire.com/chat to join that. If you are not a RotoWire subscriber, rotowire.com/pod, that's POD, gets you 10 free days to the site, including access to that Discord, but also access to every sport that we cover on the site, and all the pages, the tools, the DFS stuff. It's all there for you. So check that out. Ethan, thank you for that, and good luck on Sunday.
All right. Sounds good, man. Thanks.